Celtic are back in league action tomorrow in match day 36 of this season's Scottish Premiership with Hibs coming calling at Celtic Park. Joe, they were the informed side in the country. I suppose they still are one of the informed sides in the country, but Aberdeen burst their bubble a couple of weeks ago. But they are in the driving seat for third, so let's see what they bring to the party. This is Tino with the Countdown to Kick-Off show, joined here by Joe. Joe, initial thoughts ahead of the game?
Yeah, it's always funny this time of the season that there's nothing really. I say it's always funny. It's a great place to be in that the league's already won. But we've been here before. There's a lot of games still. 3 games left to play in the space of a week. Nice to see guys get a chance if that comes up. He said in his press conference today that he's wanting to rotate the team about. But yeah, Hibs have got something to play for. We don't. But I still expect us to win, put a good performance out. We've got a cup final in a couple of weeks' time that I expect us to be going gung-ho and expecting, us to win that, and it starts for tomorrow.
Yeah, and it's one of those ones where, quote unquote, there's nothing to play for. It doesn't really matter, but it kind of always matters. You've got that thing at Celtic where even though there's nothing material at stake, trophies, league-wise, cup-wise, whatever, there's always something, and there's always a reason for guys to stay motivated and stay on their toes. The big reason, of course, is the cup final. So we're only 2 weeks away, 2 weeks tomorrow from that one. And as you rightly say, there's 3 league games in the space of 7 days before that. We've got Hibs tomorrow, 10th of May. We've then got Aberdeen at Pittodrie during the week, and then St Mirren Trophy Day on the 17th. So lots going on. You're absolutely right in terms of the press conference. I was watching it there as well. So the manager has said that, quote unquote, there'll be lots of changes. And amongst that, he's suggested that some young players will be given a chance. What do you think about that? Is that the right thing to do to keep things fresh in these next few games?
I think so. I mean, if you don't play them now, I don't really know when you would ever play them other than pre-season. So I suppose this is your tester, really. I thought it was interesting the other night. It was interesting what he said in his press conference about the standard of the final. He commented on it not being a great game. Now, whether that's a deeper meaning is to say, suggesting anyway that our youth setup isn't good enough. I'm not sure.
So this was the Youth Cup final, wasn't it? He was referencing that as a poor game between Celtic and Rangers Youth, yeah.
Yes, so he was referencing that final where Rangers won in penalties. I don't know, he was commenting in the park for Hill not being great, but also I don't know if he was making a subtle dig at the standard, maybe not being up to scratch. It's quite apparent that we've not really seen a lot of young players come through in the last however many years, really, that have come in and made a bit of an impact. So it'll be interesting to see how guys get on. But yeah, I mean, I'm all for giving young guys a chance. I don't really see, it's a money-making business at the end of the day, that if it seems that we've got money in the pot to spend, why would we not spend the money that we have on a player and give a gamble on a youth player that is sort of untested? And it's a sort of chicken before the egg. When do you start? When do you start testing these guys? So it'll be interesting to see how good these guys are. What it would really tell us longer term, I don't really know how much of an indication it will give as to how good they'll be going forward. But, you've got to play them at some point. And I think these 3 games seem like the perfect chance.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I put out an article this week kind of on this subject, and I'd be interested to hear anyone's thoughts in the comments or otherwise drop us a note on socials, etc. The headline for the article, "The Road to Hampden skips Lennoxtown. What's the plan for Celtic's youngsters?" And I was asking that question as to the point you made, Joe. If you don't play them now, when do you play them? And I had a wee look at some of the stats surrounding Celtic's youth players this season in terms of their first team appearances. There's only 4 guys from the academy that have made any appearances at all. So obviously we've got Calmack, James Forrest, Tony Ralston, well-established first-team players. But in terms of the latest crop of academy kids coming through, there's only 4 guys that get minutes of any nature. It's Dane Murray. He got 2 appearances, one which was his cameo against Villa. He made a poor mistake actually on that night, which can happen. And he also got 90 minutes in a Scottish Cup last 16 against Wraith Rovers, 5-0 win. Daniel Cummins is next on the list. He got 9 minutes v Villa off the bench, and that's it. That's all we've seen of Daniel Cummins, despite the fact that he cannot stop scoring for the B team. But it looks like he may be off. West Ham is the rumour there. Jude Bonner came in, done pretty well. I was there that night. I think it was against Aberdeen. He got 10 minutes, and that's the last we've seen of him. And Francis Turley, and he was touted, and he was featured in pre-season, and he played a wee bit last season, I think. Francis Turley has played 1 solitary minute for the first team on Matchday 3 against St Mirren. So there's players there. We know there's talent there. But the manager was asked again specifically, it's the part in the press conference you mentioned, Joe, where he spoke about youth and someone said, will they get a chance this season? And he went, it might just take a bit of time. He said the ability's there, but there's lots to develop. There's mindset and there's the physicality and everything. So it's a chicken and egg scenario, but I guess you need to throw them in these kind of games, don't you? Just to see what they're made of or not, and then the management can make a call on whether to keep them around or move them out on loan. And there's players out in Austria and a few different places, and that's the options ahead. But it's a challenge, Joe. There's no easy fix. I moan about it. A lot of fans moan about it. There's no easy fix, is there?
There's not, and I think also it's testament to how good our medical team are, or how fit that our current players are. I mean, you look at, I'll compare Rangers, where I don't like mentioning them, but they've had to throw in a lot of young guys because they've not been very good, and they've had to change something because they've just been terrible. They've not won a home game in 7 games, and for whatever other reasons. But they've also got players that are injury prone. So we don't really have that. It seems like we don't really have that issue. I mean, Jota's the first long-term injury really that we've had. I mean, you're talking for about a year outfield. So we've never really been in a position where we've had to throw a guy in out of necessity. Nor has the team been playing particularly poorly that we've felt a need to rotate at any great stretch. So it's difficult. And again, I go back to my point. Would we rather give a young guy a chance, or we've got money in the bank? We sort of need to continue to be sustainable and to continue to grow. We need to compete in Champions League. We need to win the league every year. I'm sure 95% of fans would love a young guy to come through, but also the same 95% of fans wouldn't compromise doing that at the expense of signing a player for 10 million or 11 million, which the likelihood is that's the only really way through of progressing.
Yeah, and we all want to see these young guys featured, and it's like, the league's won and all these kind of things. We say all these things and then we lose our mind when we get beat at McDiarmid Park a few weeks ago, even though it didn't matter. But we're always going to win the league. But imagine you had played Daniel Cummins up front that day and Jude Bonner in midfield, and you lose that game. You'd be going off your head, about that kind of scenario. So I don't know. As I say, I don't know the solution, and we'll move on from it for now. It's not the one to get properly into in this show, but it would be interesting and it would be enjoyable to see some of these kids getting a run out tomorrow. Just in terms of availability, Joe, so in very positive news, Kasper Schmeichel's in the squad. The manager says he'll make a call between him and Bojami Sinisalo. I do think it'll be Sinisalo. He was also speaking at the press conference. Speaking really well, by the way, very mature for a young guy. I thought he handled it really well at Ibrox last week as well. No Alistair Johnson. I think he was talking about Cameron Carter-Vickers. I'm sure he said Cam is missing as well. So Cameron Carter-Vickers misses out. Nicholas Kuhn, despite a black eye and 5 stitches, is available to play. He took a head knock during the week, so he'll be around, and whatever young players make the squad. Let's start with the back, Joe, the goalie in the back 4. Do you think Sinisalo will stay in, and how do you think he's been doing in general?
I think he's been really good. If you look at the goals that we've lost, I don't really think there's any real calamities that he's had. I mean, look at the goalies we've had in the past where mistakes immediately come to mind, especially even with some of the better goalkeepers that we've had. I mean, Joe Hart, the start of mid to last season was full of mistakes at times. You look at Scott Bain, who's got a mistake in him. You look at Barkas in the past, who has had several Poppadom hands, several mistakes in him. You've got, with a goalkeeper, I mean, especially for Celtic, when you make a mistake, you will be remembered for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah,
this guy's been superb. He's, and all things considered, given that the league's been won, but also not just his shot stopping, but his ability with the ball at his feet, but also just you can just tell he's such a good communicator. He's so confident, and it's what you need. And I think he's not really done a lot wrong. 24's a young age for a goalkeeper as well. I mean, given goalkeepers tend to have an extra 4 or 5 years on outfield players in terms of length of career. I mean, this is a version of a 19-year-old outfield player, really, that we've got just now as a goalkeeper. I would like to view it as. So, been very impressed by him. He's working next to Kasper Schmeichel, who I would see him, the longer he works with him, the better he'll get. So yeah, it's been really impressive. I'd start him tomorrow. Kasper Schmeichel might not be overly ready yet, but I don't see any risk in playing Sinisalo tomorrow. Get his minutes up, and he could be our number 1 next season as well. You never know.
Yeah, and Brendan Rodgers has said that the plan is for him to be the number one. That was the thinking when they brought him in. Obviously, I've said it many times now, but it was a great piece of business, wasn't it? It was, you bring in this really experienced guy who still had a bit of hunger left in the shape of Schmeichel. And people can be quick to forget just how big an impact Kasper Schmeichel has had on this season. He's been phenomenal. He was phenomenal against Bayern, and just generally he's been one of Celtic's main men. But what you do have at the same time is a young, enthusiastic player learning from him, learning from Stevie Woods, getting used to the environment here at Celtic. And yes, you wouldn't have designed it this way in terms of Kasper getting injured, but it's been a bit of a silver lining to the whole thing. He's come in under no huge pressure, played in a couple of games, found his feet, gone to Ibrox, come through that test pretty well. And I think there's now going to be a very genuine question as to who gets the gloves for the cup final. Again, we'll get to that when we get to it. A couple of weeks to go. But it's a real tough call for the manager. Kasper, yes, on paper is the number one. Can you really take a guy out who's done nothing wrong? You've got to be careful with his confidence as well. Such a tough call for the manager. But yeah, for tomorrow, no need to risk Kasper Schmeichel. I'd say Sinisalo plays. In terms of the back four, Joe, there are some calls to be made. Tony Ralston, who I thought was pretty decent at Ibrox, he'll stay right back. You will probably get Greg Taylor at left back. Could be one of his last games at Celtic Park. We've only got this one in Trophy Day to look forward to. So Greg Taylor, I think, will be left back. What's going on at centre half? Scales's been back in. Trusty's been nowhere. But with Cameron Carter-Vickers, we could see the two of them paired up again. Cameron Carter-Vickers been injured, of course. What do you think? What's your back four?
I would agree with the back four. I mean, I'm not going to lie, I'm not a particularly big fan of Trusty. I don't really think I have been since he joined. I think in games that we've had to defend and our backs against the wall, he's come into his own. But we don't play like that, and I don't want us to be a team that are known for backs to the wall defending. He struggled in games domestically. But tomorrow, I don't really think we've got a choice in the matter. I think writing's in the wall for Nawrocki. I think the fact that there's been games this season, despite the fact he's come in and played well, he's still not made the bench at times. So I would be amazed if he get any minutes. I mean, the only argument I could maybe make for him getting minutes is if Carter-Vickers isn't back in time when we're resting Scales and Trusty. But I don't think it will be a case of we're going to give you a chance and see what you can do. Because I think if he's the game of his life in the next 3 games, I don't think it'll make much of a difference. Greg Taylor, I really hope he stays, because I think he's made a difference since he's come back into the team. Jeffrey Schlupp, similar to Austin Trusty, I'm not a massive fan. I think he's a bit slow, doesn't really fit into the way we play. I don't see, unless we're really desperate to keep him, I don't really see what benefit it would have giving him minutes, again, other than just giving Taylor a rest. And Ralston, same note as you, I thought he played well last week. I thought he tired a bit at the end, but it's to be expected. He's not played a lot of football. And again, he's a good option to have. I think he's someone that will come in and do a job. I think he's a very honest player. He's limited, and he knows he's limited in certain areas. But in terms of what he does, he's honest in the value he has in the squad as well. But he'll come in and he'll do a job. So no reason as to why he wouldn't play.
Yeah, you know what you get from Tony Ralston, and I say this with all the respect. There are limitations to his game, but the things that he's good at, he's really good at. And he gives you a lot of energy, a lot of power, a lot of desire. I think a lot of the attributes you'd really want to have in and around your team. So no concerns about him stepping in. Nawrocki, I can't see him being anywhere near it, and it's almost Trusty and Skills by default, isn't it? And in terms of left back, it would look like Greg Taylor's the guy that's going to see out the season in the shirt. I think Schlupp would move on potentially, probably after this season. So that's where we would be in terms of the back four. Midfield three is a bit more interesting. Callum McGregor doesn't like to be rested. He's not a guy that spells in and out. He likes to keep ticking along, and with a cup final on the horizon, I think he definitely starts. But you've got the debate now, given how he done last week off the bench. Paulo Bernardo, he came in, I thought he was really good, Joe, and I think there's this long ongoing debate about Arne Engels. I'm a massive fan. But I think he was good in spells and not so good in other spells last week. And I think we'll find more consistency in Arne Engels going into next season. And the question is, does he potentially drop out with Bernardo coming in? Bernardo's got fresh legs, and he'll be really keen to have an impact in these final 4 games, given the stop-start nature of his season. And then you've got Reo Hatate in the mix as well. Reo Hatate, a guy that Brendan Rodgers this afternoon described as an outstanding footballer. What do you think, Joe? Who's your midfield three tomorrow?
I think McGregor's a no-brainer. I think McGregor needs to play regardless, as you say. You want to play your captain as many games as you can. Don't want to change the team too much. I would definitely start Bernardo. I think a game like last week probably suits Bernardo more, where the game needs breaking up a bit, and he's also coming on where we need a bit more control. I think what he's really good at is he draws fouls, he moves the ball at a good pace. He's not a glamorous player by any means, but he's definitely someone that's effective in how we want to play. I would definitely start him tomorrow. I think he deserves his chance. And I'd probably go Rio Hatate as well. I think he's still someone that's so important to that midfield. He's very dynamic, helps us play at a certain pace. And I think Bernardo and Engels are almost too similar in some ways. I think they're not known for. Hatate is probably the only player really we have that can play in that way. McCowan to a lesser extent, but Engels and Bernardo are quite similar in a lot of ways. I just don't think that playing both of them together would really work. The same way O'Reilly and Bernardo didn't really work when they played together. So I think Hatate and Bernardo for me, along with McGregor.
Okay, and just quickly, just in short, where are you at on Arne Engels? Are you a fan?
Yes, I'm a fan. I think patience is required. I wasn't a massive Matt O'Reilly fan when I joined. Controversially, I don't really think I was. I think in big games it didn't really impact a lot initially at first. I think people forget, obviously, the tail end of what Matt O'Reilly brought to Celtic, where he brought goals, he brought assists, he was involved in games. A lot of big games he wasn't really a massive impact on. I remember him getting subbed off at Ibrox. He came on as a sub at Ibrox and gets subbed after 10 minutes. I can see Engels following a similar path in terms of it will take him a bit of time to get used to how physical Scotland is, but also how much time he probably has in the ball. I don't think it's something they were really used to, having played in Germany and playing for a team that are middle of the road and probably not possession-based. I think it will definitely be... I think he can only get better. I think he's an investment that, you can't expect a lot of a 20-year-old. It doesn't matter how much you pay. That's the going rate for a guy like that now. So I think he can only get better. I've got a lot of faith in Rodgers identifying this guy as the man to take us forward. And yeah, can only get better as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I'm excited about what the evolution of Arne Engels looks like. And I made the call on the weekly show there that I think he's the guy that'll be lifting the trophies that Dies Maera's just lifted this time around in terms of Player of the Year awards and all those kind of things. And he did win Young Player of the Year, but I think he's got the tools to step up and be the main man across the board next season. Let's see how that goes. A few comments coming in. Tommy says that he thinks Bernardo's a diamond, and I know he's got a lot of support here in the chat. GK, Gypsy King, good to see Gypsy King here. He thinks McCowan may start alongside Bernardo and Calmac. Maybe, if he's keeping it fresh, like McCowan would obviously benefit from the minutes as well. But I know there's a lot of support on the chat and across our socials for Paulo Bernardo, so let's see if he gets the nod on the day. Up front, Joe, again, there's calls to be made. Daisen Maeda, you'll have heard or read that he put in some air miles last week. He flew back to Japan. They were expecting the birth of their latest child, and that was delayed, and he flew back and got here in time for the game, but he wasn't quite at himself. Didn't have a great game, if truth be told, at Ibrox. Could have stole it at the end, but that's another story. I think we might see him rested tomorrow, and I think that would be the right call. He's a guy who's had a hell of a season so far, and personally he would probably want to play, and he's obviously chasing down a personal goals target, but I think it might make sense to have him sitting out. On that basis alone, it means Adam Idah is your number 9. But what do you do either side? On the wings, you've got James Forrest, who's now back in the fold over the last few weeks. You've got Yang, who came off the bench at Ibrox, to prove his fitness, and Nicholas Kuhn, black eye and all, is back available. Who do you think we'll see on either side of Adam Idah?
Well, this is the hardest one because I think you can make a case for a lot of them. James Forrest is obviously going for the record of his own record of scoring every season that he's still not got yet for this season. I thought he played really well in the first half at Ibrox. I thought, despite his not probably being our best, I thought he was still effective and he was trying to make things happen. I think what held him back was Adam Idah, to be honest. And I think, again, the point about Maeda, he still needs to... I think he will be rested in that sense, and I agree with you. I think Idah will start. But for me, he's not the answer. Out wide, I'd love Yang to play. I'm similar to you. Again, quite controversially, I think he's someone that's got a bit to offer. I think he's definitely get a lot better than the last year. Maybe not the finished article yet, but he's still got something to show. I can see Forrest and Yang playing either side, but I think he'll go Forrest, Kuhn, either.
Forrest and Kuhn as the wingers. So, and who's the left-sided winger out of that, Joe? Because Nicholas Kuhn is a right-sider, Forrest plays on the right, Yang is at his best on the right, and it's usually Jota and Dyson that would be the options on the left. So, with your two, Kuhn and Forrest, who do you think plays on the left?
I think Forrest probably plays on the left. I wouldn't play two guys on their own side. I'd probably have Forrest and Kuhn. They've got the option both to cut in, I would say.
It's going to be interesting to see. You're chatting Adam Ida's interesting because, again, so speaking on the weekly show, myself, James and Paddy, I'm a big Ida fan. I think he's got loads to offer. I thought his first touch for the goal, the one that he takes and he's, inside on his back heel, if you like, to set up the shot, I thought it was really clever. And I thought the shot itself, of course, it takes a deflection. There's a lot of power behind it. And I thought as a front man, that was a real glimpse of the quality he's got. And we've seen these glimpses in various places, least of all last season's Scottish Cup final, 2 goals against Villa, big goals last season against Motherwell, Hibs, all these things that have become cliche when talking about Adam Ida. And someone said the problem with Adam Ida actually is not rising to the occasion. He's got 3 goals against Rangers, I think, 3 Champions League goals. It's not doing it consistently against the, inverted commas, lesser sides. And he's got 18 goals for the season, but had he racked up a few more against the lesser lights, he might be, mid-20s or something like that, and that would look far healthier. Like Arnie Engels, I'm excited for what next season will bring for Adam Ida, and a full pre-season under Brendan Rodgers will do him the world of good, but not everyone's convinced on that, Joe, so are you in the not-so-sure camp?
I'm in the not-so-sure camp, probably. I think the not-so-sure camp would be giving him more of the benefit of the doubt. I'm probably in the not-convinced camp. I don't know. I think at the weekend, I thought his first touch was really poor, which is so important. If you're that kind of striker, you need either win fouls. Your first touch is so important because it allows you to win fouls, allows us to get out of the pitch, or in crucial moments in the game, it's about taking your chances. And I just don't think that he was really. I just thought he was really poor. I think he's had a lot of games where, albeit, he has stepped up in big games. He scored twice against Villa, and they're great goals he scored against Villa. There's no taking away from him, but there's so much more than that. And it's the argument maybe I perhaps made about Sanisalo that people remember you. People haven't really got short memories at Celtic. They'll remember a handful of bad games if you've had any. And whenever the next one comes along, they'll always reference those bad games that I've had in the past. I think in this case, it's such an important job for us. I mean, we're such an attacking team and we need to score a lot of goals. And it's winning 1-0 and 2-0 at times isn't acceptable. We need guys that deliver 20, 30 goals a season. And he's had a lot of chances. So I hope I'm proven wrong. I hope a pre-season will work for him. My concern is we've spent £9.5 million in the guy. And he's not really shown why he's worth that. And whether we could have got a better alternative at £9.5 million, I mean, the summer will probably tell us that because we'll probably try and replace Kyogo in a similar light. So we'll see. I'm not convinced on him. I hope I'm proven wrong, but I don't think he's my number one striker going into next season at all by any means.
Yeah, there's no doubt that Celtic will sign another striker, and we should sign another striker. And this will be the real test of Adam Ida because he can respond in one or two ways. He can see that as the writing's on the wall. I'm out here, this isn't going to work out for me. Or he can get the bit between his teeth and say, right, I'm going to prove that I'm worthy of being the number 9 and holding that spot in the Celtic side. There's a lot of love coming in from him in the comments, Joe, and a few different bits and bobs I'll run through. Pat McLaughlin saying he said 28 goals since last February, and that's more than respectable, no problem with that. Gypsy King saying that Ida will become a great player, and I think and hope that he's correct. But there's a point that's come in that I disagree with from Pat McLaughlin saying Kyogo started against all the lesser teams and that Ida was always on the bench until February. I dug out the start before coming on the weekly show. Adam Ida's featured in 49 games for Celtic this season. I think tomorrow is match day 54, so he's featured in 49 of 54 games. and he started 22 of them, Joe. And I was a wee bit surprised myself. I thought it might have been 10, 11, 12. He started 22 games for Celtic this season. That's despite Kyogo being there, despite Dyson Maeda being in the form of his life. So I know what Pat's saying, and he was certainly, Kyogo was preferred to him, which should have been the case. But Adam Maeda has had lots of opportunity. You know, he has had starts, and it's not always worked out for him. Sometimes it has, sometimes it hasn't. And I say that as a real genuine fan of the guy, and I hope it kicks on. But he has had opportunity. It's up to him now to really knuckle down, show what he's got in the last 4 games, and then really give his all in pre-season and come back really hungry to prove us all wrong getting into next season. Anyway, we'll move on from that now, Joe. It will remain a debate amongst fans in the last few weeks of the season and beyond, I'm sure. But yeah, so if we go either Forrest and Kuhn, it means you've got various kind of guys in reserve, whether it be Maeda, Yang, Luke McCowan, as mentioned, maybe Bernardo, maybe Engels on the bench. What about Johnny Kenny? Just briefly on him, he got a rare opportunity at Ibrox, and it could have been a really special day had Dyson squared that one at the end. Are you keen to see Johnny Kenny? Now, I've spoken about the youth players, you know, the Dane Murrays. Dane's injured now for the rest of the season. Jude Bonner, Francis Turley, Daniel Cummins and the likes. Johnny Kenny's different. He's still a youth player as such, but we brought him in, I think, from Shamrock Rovers initially. We've not got a whole body of evidence on him, but has he got a part to play for Celtic moving forward, Joe?
Again, I mean, I haven't really seen enough of him to say it. I know I see it in my Facebook and Instagram all the time about giving the guy a chance. I'm not... Celtic, playing for Celtic is a high standard, and I don't think that nobody should be playing based out of charity or based out of anything in terms of because it's Johnny Kenny, because he might be playing for Shamrock Rovers. The Irish League's not a great level. But let's be honest, like, it's equivalent to probably Championship in Scotland. I don't think there's any sort of argument that because he's done well in Ireland and he's scored a lot of goals that automatically he should be considered. I think there's still a bit of a gap that needs to be bridged. But at the same time, you know, again, it's the same thing. It's the end of the season. I don't really think there's anything really to be lost by giving him a chance. I think it tells us more than it gives us more answers than questions. If we play him more, well, there's not a lot to play for. There's pride, but there's also performance levels that we want to maintain. But you need playing at Celtic's a really high level. I mean, Kyogo earned the right to have quite a few bad games because his start was so good, and he performed in big games and he dug us out a hole so many times. He will always be remembered for that spell. Mm-hmm. You need to have guys. If you're playing up front for Celtic, you need to come in and make an impact, or else that's. I'm afraid that's a game. You can't expect to just walk in and have some sort of an entitlement to play, regardless of what level you played at in the past. You need to when you make an impact. And playing in Ireland, he cuts it.
And the reason you would play a Johnny Kenny or any of the youth guys is to give you that information. Celtic are in a position where come the summertime or come the start of next season, they'll want to make informed decisions about their fringe players. Do we keep him around the squad and give him that opportunity, or does he need to go out on loan to develop and a few things like that? So there's calls to be made, and Johnny Kenny's, you know, he's not been at Celtic for too long. He's been out on loan and stuff, but his Celtic career is absolutely at a crossroads. And he's now got a finite window to prove that he should be part of things. But I think he should get a sniff tomorrow. Wouldn't expect him to start, but I'd like to see him get decent minutes. I mean, 30 minutes, not 8 or something like that. 30 minutes off the bench. It'd be good to see. And then we can all make informed decisions as to how good he is or not. Joe, let's look at Hibs very briefly. So they're obviously chasing down third place. Hell of a season for them in terms of the ups and downs. I think we're bottom in December is the start, which is crazy. November at least, maybe December. And they've somehow turned it around and they're now clear in third position. So just to give you the details, they've got 56 points. Aberdeen 3 points behind on 53 and Dundee United 3 points back again on 50. So it's this kind of three-way fight for the third place. And Hibs are in the driving seat. They've beat us already this season, Joe. There's no reason why they shouldn't come here full of confidence and have a go. The thing that does go against them, I believe they've not won at Celtic Park in 21 games. So those patterns and those stats don't lie either. What are you expecting from them, and can they give us a fight tomorrow?
I think they'll go for it to an extent. I think they've got Rangers in the last game of the season, where I'd imagine, you know, they're at home. They'll probably fancy themselves getting a win there. But But a difficult game. They're the third best team in the country for a reason. They did play really well against us at Easter Road, and it'll be a difficult game. I must say, I think one of the players that I could see, I'm not saying for now, but in the future I could see is maybe signing is Kieran Bowie for Hibs. I think he looks a really good player. Pat and Evan actually mentioned it during the week that, I know obviously he'll be so invested, Celtic and Hibs are his two favourite teams, but Pat and Evan had mentioned that with Kieran Bowie being a potential player that would ever, be fit for a Celtic or Rangers. So I'm quite interested to see how he would do. But I mean, it'll be a hard game tomorrow. They're going to go for it. They've got something to play for, and they've got decent individual players that could on a day hurt us. And if we rotate our team like he's implied that we're probably going to do tomorrow, then there's always that risk.
There is. They've got some good individuals. You mentioned Kieran Bowie, and I think he'd been injured, and then he's come in and had an impact. He's picked up some goals recently. Is he there on loan, Joe, or is he permanent? Do you know?
Permanent.
Yeah, so 22 years of age, so he's definitely got something. Triantis, and I think Pat McLaughlin has mentioned Nick Triantis in the comments. He was one of the guys. In fact, I think he is in the running for, or he's in a short list for Player of the Year. There's that many. There's Scottish writers, there's PFAs, there's you name it. But he's in the running for something. So he's obviously done well. There's guys that we know well. There's Martin Boyle. There's the Cadden twins. On either side. Jack Iredale, who got goal of the season, I think, for a goal against Hearts. Rocky Bashiri, who's a bit unpredictable, and various other players. They've built a really decent squad, and David Gray, as I've said a few times now, I'm really glad that they stuck with him because I thought the writing was absolutely on the wall. But they've shown a bit of patience. They've sat tight, and they're getting the rewards from that. And what's clear, Joe, is that the players are responding to the manager. That's the bottom line. It's done and dusted when players just seem to down tools and they're not getting the results they should be for the quality they've got. Hibs stuck at it, and it's clear that David Gray's got something to offer from a coaching point of view.
Yeah, he does. I think he came in as a caretaker and done all right as well, but it shows you what patience does. I mean, I always liked John Maloney as a player, and I thought he looked like someone that was going to be a good manager. I thought when they sacked him at Hibs, it was really harsh. I think Jack Ross went away quite unfairly at Hibs as well, so it's good that they've stuck by him because it just shows you what happens. You get a lot of patience. I hope Rangers are really patient with Barry Ferguson as well. That would be good. He can turn it around there too.
I think, just give him 4, 5, 6 years, see how it goes. Take it from there. But no, Hibs under David Gray, clearly doing good things, and they are in the driving seat. As I say, they're 3 out in front in that race for third place. But let's hope that we can put the brakes on it in terms of what we bring to the party tomorrow. On that note, Joe, it's the time in the show to get your scoreline prediction. I'll ask the guys joining us here on the live, let us know your thoughts in the comments if you've got a scoreline prediction for us. But for the now, Joe, your own scoreline prediction and why?
I think I say this every time on here. I'm going to say 3-0. Ida will come off after 60 minutes at 0-0. Johnny Kenny will come on and score twice. And Engels penalty. That's get that in your scorecast, folks.
I love all these detailed ones. James does the same. I'm like, give us a score. And 3-0 full stop would be fine. James is like, Maeda will cut inside for one and float it to the back post, and James A. Forrest will come crashing in with a header, and then such and such will happen. It's a lot of detail, and you seem to take the same path. But yeah, listen, if Johnny Kenny grabbed a couple of goals, nobody'd be unhappy with that. And I think if Arne Engels adds to his tally, all good. Tell me this, Joe, does James Forrest get that goal? And what is that noise?
Oh, it's my phone going mental. I think he will eventually. Whether it'll be like a penalty with a minute to go against St Mirren that they'll throw him on, or he will eventually. I've just got instincts, Tino. I think Johnny Kenny's going to have a masterclass tomorrow.
I love it, Joe. Well, you can take the flak if some people bet on it and it doesn't come up, but we'll go for that. So 3-0, Johnny Kenny to score. A couple of scoreline predictions coming in. Pat McLaughlin's gone for 3-2 Celtic, and I was on the same page as Pat last week. I thought last week might have been quite high scoring in terms of, what's at stake or what's not at stake, and it could lead to quite an open game of football. But I do think the same applies tomorrow. There's no great jeopardy for Celtic. We can play with a bit of freedom, whereas Hibs will really be going for it. It could lead to goals, so I can see where Pat's coming with for the 3-2. Gypsy King, similar. He's gone for 3 each, and who knows. And Mazar, good to see Mazar here in the comments. He says a lot of changes mixed with the fact that Hibs have got something to play for. He reckons it will follow the Scottish Cup game at Celtic Park, a close affair. I think, did we win that 2-0 on the day? I think so. But Mazar's gone for 2-1 Celtic. But importantly, states that Forrest will get his goal against Hibs. I think Celtic will edge it, Joe. 3-2, maybe where I've been at. I'm going to go 3-1. I think there's a confidence about Celtic, and motivation's always a big thing for me. You know, what are people playing for and what's driving people on? Hibs absolutely driving for this third place. But every single player that gets minutes for Celtic are looking to impress and playing the cup final. That's what they all want to do. They know that the games are running out for them to really show what they've got. There's a couple of injuries that we've spoken about. There's some guys in and out for different reasons. And everyone given the opportunity will really want to stake a claim. So on that note, Joe, I'm going to go for 3-1 and let's see how that plays out. I'm not going to call the goal scorers in the same way that you have. Joe, your final comments for this one. Another day to look forward to. It's 3 o'clock kick-off at Celtic Park. Your final thoughts ahead of the game?
It's quite sad it's the last one, actually. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It'll be... Scottish and Celtic in general is good. It's good that we've won the league and there's not an awful lot to play for. I think we're in a very lucky position that we can go and watch our team in the latter stages of the season where we've got nothing to play for in a good way. Everything's wrapped up. So, you know, the big one's in a couple of weeks' time. Hopefully Forrest gets his goal. And I just got to see Celtic on a Saturday afternoon. You can't go wrong.
Can't beat it. Sun will be shining. Lots to look forward to. It's also, of course, it's the first time the players have been back at Celtic Park since clinching the league a couple of weeks back at Tannadice. So there's all that to look forward to. And I expect the team to get a really warm reception on that basis. Joe, thanks for joining us here on a Friday afternoon. Thanks as always to everyone who continues to support us and to follow us here at the Celtic Exchange. Remember to check out the show notes for different ways you can support the Celtic Exchange this season and beyond. The post-match, we'll try and catch that tomorrow, so I'll be at the game as well, Joe, but hopefully we can catch something tomorrow evening in terms of a post-match. If not, it may fall into Sunday, but we'll do our very best. But on that basis, have a great weekend. Hopefully another big one at Celtic Park tomorrow. We'll see you all again.